Welcome back. I appreciate you being here. In today's video, I want to talk about Dr. Eric W. Davis, specifically addressing Bob Lazar in one of the recent interviews. This is an interview that was uploaded and conducted by Generation Zed. That's a YouTube channel. I'll link the full interview, the full video down in the description. You can check it out. It is somewhat interesting. He did another, Generation Z that is, did another interview with Dr. Eric W. Davis a while back. So there's a lot of catching up to do. You may know him from Jesse Michaels. He was on the Jesse Michaels show and ate salad.
To honor his NDAs and the things he's, wants to protect.
That guy. You remember that? That's the guy. Now, well, that sounds a little bit ridiculous. He is actually a very serious person, okay? I'm making it sound more ridiculous than it actually is. He is a physicist. He holds PhD in astrophysics. He has 40 years of aerospace and academic experience in astronomy, astrophysics, breakthrough, space propulsion. However, on the back of some of his claims talking about wormholes and some of the claims he made in the past, they're taken out of context and they lead to all kinds of memes. So here we see a little AI animation that Chupacabra put together from Eric W. Davies, starring in his own upcoming show about wormholes or something. So it's kind of become a meme, I guess is what I'm saying. But he is absolutely a very serious astrophysicist. So you kind of get the idea. He's a very serious person in the field who has a lot of experience over an extended period of time. And keep in mind, 40 years of experience in this field. You've seen a lot of stuff. So he seems to be a great resource when it comes to finding out about like military, alternative, experimental propulsion technologies and things like that. So anyway, he did this interview on Generation Zed a few days ago. Again, I'll link the whole video in the description. You guys can go check it out yourself. Subscribe to Generation Zed because obviously he's putting this together and I want to give him respect and the credit for that. But you guys have sent me some timestamps that actually mark where he talks about UFOs or UAP and propulsion and all that kind of relevant stuff to this show at least. Let's go there right now, listen in and react to it. I haven't seen this, so let's see what we have.
My friend Vox, I'm not going to say the last name of your username because it's hard to pronounce, so forgive me, but Vox has a few questions actually, which is, the first one is, what is the likelihood that instead of seeing a UFO near Groom Lake, as Bob Lazar and John Lear claimed, what is the likelihood they instead saw some type of directed energy proton or laser beam back in the 1980s rather than a UFO?
So, sorry, I have to pause here. For reference, what this references, I don't know if it references my video because I did release a video talking about exactly this not long ago, I think less than a month ago. And what this references is the work of Tom Mahood. There's a website called otherhand.org, and it's basically a blog for his own thought experiments. He himself apparently is a civil engineer and traffic engineer. He did serious science work for Caltech, getting a master's degree in physics. So you can see who that guy is. And he made the statement on here, on his blog, that included the theory that what Bob Lazar and John Lear saw in the desert at the time in the late 90s were not UFOs or anything paranormal or a back-engineered craft, but instead they were basically testing a propulsion cannon, like a laser and plasma cannon. The way I understand it, this article, I mean, I recommend everyone to go there, read this yourself. Like, otherhand.org is a great website, gives insight and explanations to all kinds of mysteries. But the way it works is theoretically that you shoot a little plasma ball up in the sky and then at a certain height you penetrate it with a laser and then it bursts. So you can create like these glowing orbs of light for a short moment that seem to float through the sky, but really what it is, it's just plasma discharging. That's how I understand it. I covered this in a video a few weeks ago, so I think it's great that someone's asking this question. Is it possible that Bob Lazar at the time didn't see these back-engineered craft with John Lear in the desert, but instead these plasma experiments? So let's see what Dr. Eric W. Davis has to say to that question.
Instead of seeing a UFO near Groom Lake, as Bob Lazar and John Lear claimed, what is the likelihood they instead saw some type of directed energy proton or laser beam back in the 1980s rather than a UFO?
Zero, because there were no technology of that nature back then, especially at Area 51. Protons were not used. And lasers were, but laser work was done in another part of the country at another laboratory. And
Gotcha.
Area 51 doesn't have a laboratory to begin with. It's not a laboratory. So the answer is zero. And Bob Lazar...
Wow, he just shoots this down, right? This is insane how he just shoots it down immediately. Because to be honest, I was somewhat of a firm believer in that theory. I thought that's probably the most likely explanation. I covered it in my video as well. Obviously, I don't know. Nobody knows what they saw in the desert back in the days. But here's Dr. Eric W. Davis just shooting it down brutally, saying it's impossible. That stuff didn't even really exist at that time. Damn it, we need a new theory. What did Bob Lazar see? It can't be aliens. I guess we'll never know.
So the answer is 0. And Bob Lazar and John Lear, I wouldn't put any stock in anything they say because there are a couple of nutcases. And we already know that George Knapp investigated Bob Lazar.
Oh my God. Shots fired, dude. Jesus Christ. He's just going out calling them a bunch of nutcases in a public interview. Nice. I mean, to be honest with you, love Dr. Eric W. Davis so far. Respect. He doesn't hold back. He says what he thinks. It seems like, at least, from what I see here. So, love that.
And we already know that George Knapp investigated Bob Lazar, and as much as he's been promoting him over the years, George knows on a private basis that Bob Lazar is a problem.
Oh my God, epic takedown, Jesus Christ.
And I've investigated him with a former Area 51 program manager who's a member of the Roadrunners Retiree Association. Area 51 is a problem. And I've investigated him with a former Area 51 program manager who's a member of the Roadrunners Retiree Association. He knew Bob Lazar's female supervisor. And he got the poop on Bob Lazar's employment, which did not take place in Area 51. It took place in an unclassified logistical support facility way outside of Area 51. He never had to take a Janet flight out there. He stayed in Vegas. He works from Vegas.
Gotcha.
Okay, I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, it has to be said that this is just Eric Davis making these claims. I haven't seen any documents that back this up. Obviously, we went through his credentials. He's a very credible person. I have no reason to doubt these claims that he's speaking the truth. I don't know why he would lie. But it is ultimately just him saying, trust me, bro, I knew his previous female supervisor. And, you know, there's nothing tangible here to back it up. It just has to be said again. I don't doubt that it's true. I'm just saying it's him making claims, as many other people have made claims as well. But let's keep going.
Then he ran an illegal prostitution operation at the same time.
Yeah, there's some. I know that people that have promoted Lazar don't like bringing that aspect of his life up, but I think it's fair to bring it up. But that's how you do. Yeah, that's how you do forensic profiling. We're not saying he's a criminal. It's just a profiling of somebody who's made outrageous claims, which everybody at Area 51 are looking at each other like, what the fuck? And so, you know, and then you got George Knapp, who's promoting him a lot. He has said, so what the fuck? But he just kind of says, well, you got the story. But I think George is missing a beat somewhere, and I'm not sure why. He knows all the people I worked with who investigated Bob Lazar, and that includes Colonel John Alexander, or Dr. John Alexander, Colonel, U.S. Army retired, who was responsible for Bob Bigelow hiring me at NIDS in July of '96. Yeah, and you know, when you're the chief of staff to the commanding general of the Army Intelligence and Security Command, you can pull a lot of resources in the government to look into guys like Lazar. And he did. Got you. He did when he looked into Phil Corso. So
that is probably true, I would assume. What he's saying here, that when this whole Lazar thing went down and it really took off, the government would certainly have closely looked into these claims. Is it true? Where did he work? Who's this guy? Which role did he have with the government, if any at all? I'm sure it was investigated, and presumably then it's been decided that it doesn't do any harm or any damage, because, I mean, nothing really ever happened to Bob Lazar in terms of consequences for the claims that he made. But I'm sure the government and the military investigated these claims, so I'm with Eric Davis there, for sure. But I look different. I don't know what happened. I feel the same. Let's continue.
But when you read The Day After Roswell by Corso and Birnes, you're going to find a lot of bullshit in there, because Bill Birnes looked at that one chapter and said, I can't write a book. I can't write a book based on. Oh, wait, he couldn't write Corso's autobiography because A, Corso's a horrible writer. B, he's boring. His life is kind of mundane and boring. There was really nothing spectacular. And B, only that one chapter on the UFO aspect of the Roswell crash was the only thing of interest. And so Birnes had to embellish that chapter heavily to make it a readable, entertaining, attention grabbing
to sell as a piece of media.
And it was a bestseller.
Right.
For God's sake. How long?
I was just thinking when he said, oh, it's Bill Birnes, I was like, what, the guy from UFO Hunters? William J. Birnes has co-authored The Day After Roswell. I also love that it's listed as a hoax memoir. Okay, good stuff. But there you have it. And again, I love that he's not holding back, right? He's like, this guy was a horrible writer. He was boring. His life was really dull. Nobody can. It's great. I love this guy so much. We need more of this guy, really. And the idea that Bill Birnes had to take this one short chapter and stretch it out into a book, which sounds like a recipe for disaster. But as he says, it's a bestseller. It's a classic of UFO literature now, I almost want to say. But let's keep going.
Dr. Davis, given your work on ball lightning in the past for the Air Force Research Laboratory,
Right.
What are the odds that pilots, people who fly in, for example, various aircraft all over the world, what are the chances that in some cases, when people claim to see UAPs or UFOs, they may in fact be observing some type of laser-induced holographic display of some nature? Is that a feasible explanation for some UAP sightings?
Well, that's not ball lightning, but holographic projection. Who's doing the projecting? The UFO or somebody with technology that's
right. It's like, why did he lead into this with the ball lightning? He's like, you worked a lot on ball lightning. Is it possible people encounter holographic projections? It's like, what? Okay. Anyway, all right.
Have you ever come in contact with any type of NHI, alive, not alive? And have you also worked on any type of UAP craft in which you were analyzing materials directly? If you could answer those.
Yeah, no to both questions. And the arts parts, we can't rule out that Hal and I were involved in reviewing the Oak Ridge National Labs materials analysis of arts parts on behalf of Aero and the Army Capabilities Combat Command in Detroit, Michigan, which had the CRADA contract with To the Stars.
Gotcha.
And so we were just outside contractors or scientific, subject matter experts who looked at the report and reduced it down from 90 pages. Now the public saw a 9-page summary. We got access to a controlled, unclassified information version of the 90-page report, and we were allowed to take copious notes. So I took copious notes. I reduced it down to a few pages. I don't remember how many pages my memo is.
I mean, very interesting, right? That he has worked in this field for so long. He spoke to so many people. He's clearly well connected, knows a lot of people. Not once has he seen, handled, from, what he says here, if we can believe it, anything that would imply not an earthly origin, right? I mean, that kind of tells the whole story. And it doesn't mean that, you're an astrophysicist, you contract with the Pentagon, you have to have seen something. That's not what I mean, but it's just, at least he's honest, right? That's the other thing. I really appreciate his honesty here, because if you would be in this game just to sell a bunch of books, then it's easy to say, yeah, once I saw something, and you kind of build a narrative, a mythicism, and then sell a bunch of books over it. Since he's saying, no, I've never seen anything, it's another plus in my books.
Okay, and for the final question, this question here is not a question that Ross Coulthard has asked. However, it's been making the news lately, which is that, and I just wanted to see simply if you agree with this assessment. Ross Coulthard states that, and I quote, "There appears to be intervention from a very high level in government to stop UAP disclosure. President Trump made a promise during the election campaign that he would try to be more open about the disclosure of UAP imagery. That promise is not being fulfilled," end quote. Do you agree with Ross Coulthard on that assessment?
Yeah, he's right.
Okay.
Remember, President Trump is the highest level authority of the executive branch, not of the other two branches of government. It's only all in the executive branch. The frickin' judges don't have a say. The legislative branch doesn't have a say. The Congress on Capitol Hill. So it's not that it's somebody at the higher level. It's somebody at the highest level, which is the correct term to use. And I think that was in the question, actually. So somebody at a high level can go to President Trump and probably show him the PEDs, one or more of them concerning this specific topic, and saying, sorry, the legality of this as it was derived or defined in the Eisenhower administration is you can't do this.
Gotcha.
You can't disclose.
Right.
And
okay, fair enough. I mean, that is the theory, that's what happened. At the same time, he says in all his long career, he's never seen anything that would imply NHI involvement. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe. He comes across credible, and specifically that he says he's never seen anything like that kind of lends credibility to everything that he says. At the same time, he's just a lovable and funny guy who just dunks on all kinds of people left and right. And I kind of appreciate that. If it's justified, you gotta dunk on people respectfully, okay? We're not getting personal here. I think it's all professional. But I love this guy. I love Dr. Eric W. Davis. Guys, let me know your thoughts about all this down in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think everything he says in this interview is legit? Again, I'll link the full interview on the Generation Z channel down in the description. You can go check it out yourself, subscribe to his channel, show him the love that he deserves for recording and putting this together. Leave your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. I very much appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this little reaction video. If you did, smash like, subscribe, consider joining our Discord. I see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and I'm out. Bye.